Jacob, this podcast has gone to the moon. We are the elite. Oh, yeah. We're the elite of the elite, and that's why we wear Elite Sports, the only sporting brand company that supports Texas State athletes the way that they deserve to be respected. If you want to support the Bobcats and this podcast, shop at Elite Sports. The best athletes at Texas State are sponsored by Elite Sports. The best podcast is also.
Use code SQUARE at checkout for 10% off. One of the best college apparel companies in the country. Home Field. If you got A&M fans, if you got Longhorn fans, if you got begrudgingly probably in your life that you want to give a nice gift for, shop Home Field. Use code SQUARE at checkout. 10% off.
Jacob, when I wear Home Field apparel, I feel like I have a home field advantage.
Do you? Do you actually have one?
100%. I have a golden gopher shirt. Looks great on me. Girls are all over me being like, hey, do chicks really dig the long ball? I go, yeah, they do. 1957 World Series champs, Golden Gophers.
I'm excited about where we're going. Obviously, we got a lot of momentum going into year two. Picked first in the West, which is a great sign of respect, and that was awesome to see. Obviously, I think we were picked fifth a year ago, and so really the preseason rankings don't mean much, but it does matter to us, and we were excited about where we were picked. For us, as a coaching staff, we won 20 games in 2 years, going back to UIW and Texas State. So we are comfortable being on that top spot and winning ball games. I think for us, the expectations going into last year, we were a little uncomfortable with. So excited where we're at, but we still have a lot of room and a lot of growth to happen.
Memory. The first ever Dave Campbell's Texas football article I wrote was about spring game last year. So now I've gotten to reprise my role as the Sunbelt beat reporter that I am. Because we never miss a media day, Andrew, in our 2-year history of this podcast, at least virtually, because we have not gone in person together ever, actually.
Will we ever go in person? I don't think that's going to happen.
I literally spoke it into existence in a group chat with you, me, and Colton. Team Squarin next year, Sunbelt Media Days. If you want to send us, go ahead and donate to us now. Link in bio.
Yeah, hold on. First off, why wasn't Colton there? Like, what are you talking about, Colton? Colton,
he could be there. Let's keep it real.
We could be there.
He could be there.
Oh, he could be there. 100%.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He should have gone for Team Squarin. Because you and I got day jobs.
Real jobs. Yeah. 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Got to punch the clock.
Yeah. Check in and check out.
It's my turn to make license plates for the state employee.
We check into the media factory, brother. It's just like
yeah.
Boss man. I gotta say, KTSW, while I was there, the diversity wasn't like super great. Now, shout out to that group over there. They did an incredible job.
A lot of DEI improvement. I think the star. I think the star for the longest time was way more diverse than the.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There's a bunch of white dudes that worked at the radio station, especially
led by one Andrew Zimmel.
Yeah, War Chief Andrew Zimmel.
Yeah, dude, the Tucker Carlson of KTSW, Andrew Zimmel.
And then he got woke his senior year.
And went broke.
Oh, with the big boys. You know what I'm saying?
Went broke, 100%. It's tough looks.
I offered to pay Zimmel multiple times, by the way, to take an editor position at the Star, and he refused. He said, Jacob, how am I going to put in my book that I struggled for so long if you keep paying me money?
That book available right now on Amazon. Sports Radio Bible.
This weekend, I sound like shit, so this podcast will probably be kind of tight because I probably will end up coughing a lot as I talk. But it's because I spent the weekend in San Marcos with this guy and some of our lovely friends, and my body is just like allergic to outside at this time in San Marcos. I was telling Andrew, like pretty much once a year, my body would just shut down. I wouldn't go to class for a week, and everybody was like, "Wow, Jacob really cares about school." And I'd be like, no, I'm on my deathbed, everybody. I'm not making it up this time.
I told people that was a effect of the benders that you would go on as well. So that probably played a part.
You know what? We went squaring as a unit. our group, Team Star, right? We went out. I felt so shitty. Wasn't drinking. That's how people knew I was really sick. And then I walked to the Yellow Store, my favorite gas station in San Marcos. They have all your select products. Could they become a Squaring Around sponsor? Oh, that'd be fun. But no, they did not sponsor this. I walked to the damn Yellow Store, and then
That's a long walk too.
I got cold medicine. Yeah, it was about a half mile at least.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that. When you said the Yellow Store, I was like, there's no way he went to the Yellow Store. But that like makes sense that you did. But that's like a long walk because we were
at Sean Patrick's.
Yeah.
I just went straight past Malu's and everything, took a right, but like after Malu's, obviously. So I ended up on Chimmy's side. I saw a bunch of drunk girls being refused at the door, walked past them, got to the Yellow Store, took the straight across, directional signal. And then I went behind the Wells Fargo, which is very sketchy at night. And then I ended up back at St. Patrick's. So a really big square.
Yeah. Do they still have the ATM at that Wells Fargo?
I'm pretty sure they do. But if not, there's another one at the other part where I almost got jumped the last time.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the reason I asked that question is because I got an email a couple months ago from Wells Fargo saying that they shut down the Wells Fargo branch in LBJ.
LBJ, yeah.
And they justified it.
Because UFCU, baby. That's what's going on over there.
Well, they justified it by saying that there was 2 other Wells Fargos in San Marcos. They were like, well, if you want to bank with us, there's still I'm like, don't you want to have as many opportunities as possible? I personally, like UCFU, congratulations on being the naming rights. Wells Fargo Stadium, that doesn't sound too bad. Wells Fargo, why'd you pony up? You know what I mean?
Pony up.
Come on, what are we doing here?
I mean, they've lost like billions of dollars in these corporate settlements and stuff. That's actually the only reason I have a Wells Fargo account is because when I was a freshman at Texas State, it was like the big to-do, right? As soon as I opened a damn account, because my parents told me to do so, I opened an account with Wells Fargo, and then they went through this huge scam thing where I was a victim, actually. They made another account for me, and I didn't know about it.
So I like Wells Fargo. Been banking with them for a long time. Family banks with them forever. Before that, I'm a big fan of Wells Fargo.
You've been Texas State Wells Fargo guy?
Huge fan of Wells Fargo. So when they shut it down, the tough part was I had to do the mobile banking when I was in North Dakota because they didn't have a ton of Wells Fargos.
No.
So yeah, talk about a tough time. So, not a great time. But anyway, what was a good time was hanging out with the Star people this past weekend. It was good to see you in person, Jacob. It's always great to see you in person. Everybody else is fine too. It was good to get
everybody else. I feel like has a shelf life. You're like, because I've experienced this so many different friend groups, but there's some people you see and you're like, I can do it one day, and then we got to not see each other for a year.
I will say that I'm not going to put that out there because, as everyone knows, I am an Olympic medalist when it comes to couch surfing. So I need as many friends as possible because I don't know where I'm going to need to crash.
I drive an SUV, so I can always pony up.
I enjoyed seeing everybody. And by the way, if you have a couch, keep it open.
All right, let's start the show.
Tired of winning the tailgate, but losing the games? We can't help that. But we can tell you what the hell is up with each team and what's going on across sunny San Marcos. Texas State fans, get on your feet. You're listening to Squaring Around with Jacob Rodriguez and Andrew Zimmel.
The Sun Belt is rising, part 2, Zimmel, because
I don't like that at all.
Last year, the Sun Belt commissioner, Keith Gill, whipped out this fancy dancy thing. I was talking to Colton, wasn't there pyrotechnics and stuff at Media Day last year? This is so much more lackluster than any years previously. But anyway, he starts talking about how the Sun Belt is rising and all this stuff. And he almost lost me right then and there on day 1 of Media Days because I was like, oh, come on, man, the same speech. And then he turned it around. He was talking about how the time for the Sun Belt is now.
All right. Thank you for that introduction, Dan. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2024 Sun Belt Conference Football Media Days. So it's so great to be with all of you. It's The theme kind of is, Sun Belt rising and kind of our kind of transformation into the football conference that we are today. You think about a century ago, the age of jazz was born here in the city of New Orleans. Louis Armstrong and his counterparts started a revolution in music, bringing a transformational and exciting musical style to the world. 50 years later, with the construction of the Louisiana Superdome, the largest domed stadium in the world at the time it was built, New Orleans launched the age of colossal dome stadiums. These multi-purpose venues allowed for grand experience for college football national championships, Final Fours, and Super Bowls. Today, New Orleans is home to the Sun Belt Conference and the launch of a new age of college football for our conference. As by well-respected ESPN football writer Bill Connolly, when summarizing the current state of FBS non-autonomy football, he said, "The age of Sun Belt is upon us."
He's a great speaker, Keith Gill. By the way, he played football at Duke. Did you guys know that? I didn't know that.
Oh my fucking God.
I teach myself things about...
It's every year.
I teach myself things about this all the time. So... had no idea.
I gotta give you credit because there are people who come to the pod who are not Sunbelt aficionados. But I have been keeping up with the Sunbelt since Keith Gill took over in 2019. And let me tell you something.
6 years ago. He's the 6th year this year of Keith Gill.
Point is that I have had to deal with it's every year. He went to Duke every year, and they act like it's nothing new. It's like he didn't just go to Duke. He played Duke football in the 80s. We know this. But
horrible stat lines, by the way. I looked it up earlier.
The first year he was in that position, I asked him, I was actually at his first media day, and I asked him, hey, what is that like? What was Duke football like at that time? What's it cool? Is it cool to see Duke football? Because at that point they were getting they were turning the curve a little bit.
He wasn't personally on the team, but
the team itself but like your alma mater's doing well. And I said, like, with Texas State, are they ever going to be good? Because they still were in the Spavital era and just getting out of the Withers era. And I was like, what's it like to have your team be good after you leave? That type of shit. He's a cool guy. Keith Gill was at Sunbelt.
Very chill dude.
He was at the softball tournament this past spring. He was hanging out. I had to poke Jacob and say, that's the commissioner.
I wasn't at the softball tournament, famously. Remember, Coach Ricky Woodard banned me. And then,
that's right.
And then there was a torrential downpour that kept me from the other day.
Well, weren't we? No, we weren't. I watched Jessica Mullins win that game.
No,
so
I've not seen Texas State win a Sun Belt title in person ever.
That's crazy. Okay, anyway, so Keith Gill was there.
Is it because our teams? I mean, come on, I didn't have that many chances. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, that's fair. So maybe it was Colton. That's embarrassing. Anyway.
Ouch.
Yeah. So Keith Gill was there, and he's a fan.
You, Keith Gill, and Colton were squaring around.
He was moving around. He was walking around. He had a backpack on. Did I ever tell you the story about the time I wanted to steal one of the Sunbelt paperweights? They have those huge. Okay, so it was either Sunbelt Media Day or it was the basketball tournament that we went to, but they had these big Sunbelt logos, the old logos, not the SBC one, the old logo with the sun, and it said Sunbelt around it. And they had them in the bathrooms. It was these big glass, like, I don't know, whatever. I wanted to steal one of those. I thought about putting it in my backpack. I didn't. I regret it to this day, not stealing one of those Sunbelt deals. So Keith Gill, you're welcome for me not stealing it, but also if you want to send one to me, get my line, send me one.
I'll at your boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Keith Gill pitches this whole thing about how the age of the Sun Belt football experience is now. And I'm kind of with him, I guess. But, like, I have no other choice to be because this is where Texas State finds itself.
No, I like the Sun Belt. I don't know, like...
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have no choice but to ride for Keith Gill. You know what I'm saying?
When we sucked, I was like...
You're in a good spot?
Yeah, I was like, I like this conference because at least, like, with them being good, App State beats the A&M. Like, at least we can say, like, hey, Sunbelt's a solid conference versus, like, other conferences who are not necessarily as good. So I like the Sunbelt. I'm happy with where we are.
Media Days 1, right? Big big talk, I guess, is like Keith Gill. If you're a fan of the East, which I'm clearly not, except for the Marshall Thundering Herd this year on the DCTF, Republic of Football Dynasty Network League. Yeah, you could just basically fast forward through that entire day. Today, boom, boom. The Sun Belt itself is rising. What is not rising is production value for some of these things. I myself, as a media member, not even just for Texas State, but was a little peeved because I didn't get an email about where the damn Zoom is. So I got that from Colton. And then I logged on. I don't know why they always put the guy who's head of officiating and then Texas State, because, man, that was a snooze fest. It was crazy. He opens up with a Taylor Swift joke, bombs.
Good morning. Am I on? They're air. Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing? Officiating gets a little attention in here in July and August, and the season starts, and everyone forgets about us, right? We're transparent, we're maybe even invisible, and no one frets about what we're doing on the field. In other news, Taylor Swift has canceled the rest of her tour because of a lack of ticket sales. But it is great to see you. It's great to have an opportunity. I don't pretend to have a snowball's chance of creating empathy for officiating. But I do hope to maybe create some appreciation for some of the things we're doing. I'm going to bring you some statistics from the 23 season and some interpretations or things to think about when you see the numbers.
Then he just lost all of my attention pretty much.
Lost the room, huh?
Lost the room. Put me to sleep, actually. I'd missed Texas State actually going on live because I fell asleep to this guy talking. So I wake up, and now Coastal Carolina's on the board. I'm like, oh, shit.
You'd be the worst GM in the world. You fell asleep during your pick? That's crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, in the midst of all that, I texted Mike Craven, and I was like, hey, can I write something for SBC stuff? So that's online right now.
As you slept through the Texas State portion, you were like, hey, by the way.
Just scroll back. It's fine. It's on ESPN Plus, baby. That's what we're doing. Yeah. So I wrote it up real quick. Also, it's media days. It's not that hard of an article to write. I had kind of a framework, and then GJ Kinne hit me with the story. This is the story if you don't know.
All right. Thanks for having us. I'd like to start out by giving my wife a shout out. Summer, I know she's watching. We just, had our third child, first little girl, and we induced early to make sure we were here today. So I would not be here if it wasn't for her and that decision and a real coach's wife decision right there. So appreciate you.
GJ Kinne and Summer Kinne had a baby right last week. They induced labor to do that because this guy had to go to media days. So ultimate coach's wife decision, Summer Kinne, MVP of the preseason for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then he kind of goes into some of the off season.
People talk about the portal and the guys that we got in the portal and all that, but really the guys we're able to retain on our current roster was really the big win for us, the best recruiting we did all off season. Really it started from the day after the bowl game, really the night of the bowl game after we beat Rice. Had a huge win. I was calling our current players like Ish the next morning at 7 a.m. I'm calling donors and trying to raise as much money as possible because we have some super talented players on our roster and we couldn't have got anyone better than those guys in the portal. And so really excited that we're able to retain those guys. And obviously you're going to lose some, but that's just the way it goes. But
talent stuff. Hopefully I actually get the sound from the Sun Belt because I don't know. It's been like a cluster. Ask any person who tries to cover the Sun Belt. It has not been pleasant doing media day stuff right now.
Here's my take. So you go through the schools that are in the Sun Belt.
Mm-hmm.
Metropolitans, we're talking about the cities in the Sun Belt. There's not a lot of them. There's not a lot of metropolitan areas in the Sun Belt.
You're talking about metro areas that lead into other ones, like a DFW kind of situation, or what are you talking about specifically?
Well, the thing is that Hattiesburg. What's the population of Hattiesburg, Mississippi?
I got you.
What's the population of Lafayette is a city. Mobile, Alabama is a city. Troy, Alabama is a city.
Are you ready for the pop?
But
Hattiesburg?
Yeah.
48,000. in 2020.
So you see what I'm saying here?
Which is not even that far off from the total student population of Texas State. It's 40,000.
So my point being that like when we talk about like the production value and stuff like that of these like events, I think part of it is because
Troy, Alabama,
most of these places send
17,000, by the way.
15,000?
17.
Oh my God.
Who the hell wants to live over there?
Here's the thing. It's like you get one newspaper that goes to media day and maybe a radio station, maybe KTSW went, the student media for Texas State, but like nobody in San Antonio or Austin thought about it. I can speak for myself, at least as like a member of that media. Nobody thought like, let's go cover Texas State at their media day.
This is very low priority for everybody because Texas State is the only, oh, look, they just sent out the press release for it. This press conference ended like 3 hours ago. I want everybody to know that.
This is a take that I've had with Scott Watkins from Troy. He covers the Golden Eagles now in Hattiesburg. This has been a take that we've had for a while, is that they could pay us like $45,000 to $50,000 and we could do a lot better of a job with the Sun Belt than like ESPN Plus is doing currently.
I would need,
and I would say, huh?
I would need more money to do that job.
You think so?
45? Yeah, that's what I make right now.
But to cover an entire conference versus covering like Fiesta?
Oh, like it's hard. They're all right in front of you. Just point a camera at them.
No, you're not thinking the same way that I am.
But versus covering the biggest event in all of San Antonio, I think it's harder to cover Fiesta than it is to cover the Sun Belt for media days.
100% give me the athletic conference.
You like froze.
You froze too, but I don't know why. It was weird.
You froze first.
Yeah, it's probably on my end for sure. Point being, I don't know. I think that the Sun Belt could do a better job, should do a better job. But when you go through the other group of 5 conferences, like Big Ten Media Day, a power conference, probably the second best football conference in the country, theirs look like shit too. They had like a tiny ass podium and a huge backdrop. And the UCLA coach is talking about how Bruins football is played in LA. It was just really weird first year in the conference. My thing is this. Texas State in the Sun Belt for Media Day this year, at least from the clips that I've seen and watched, wasn't super impressed. I wasn't super impressed by the conversations that came out of it. Again, from the clips that I've seen, for the quotes that I've seen coming out from Texas State, I'm not moved, Jacob. I don't know about you.
If you watch the entire 2-day event, you will sleep through the East. I watched it. I was nodding off at work as I was watching this. I switched over to The Bachelor a few times. The Bachelorette season 26, I think, with Jen started on 2 weeks ago. So I've got to catch up. I'm like 3 episodes behind right now.
Nah, I famously started watching The Bachelor and Bachelorette when I was in college, so it gave me something to talk about with the other girls in my class. You have none of that. What is the pro for you watching The Bachelor and Bachelorette? Is there any pro?
I grew up. I've already told this story so many times on this damn show that I grew up watching this show with my mom and my grandma.
And that's the connection you have to it?
Are you fucking kidding me? Yes. Do you listen to me when I talk on this damn thing?
So
you just wait till your turn.
But my thing is like, you're calling your mom after a show and being like, "Hey, did
Not
you
anymore.
see?"
Not these days.
Okay.
I just like it. I think it's funny.
Okay.
I almost started a pod. Before I started this podcast, I actually pitched a podcast to my work because I was working at an ABC station at the time. And I was like, let's do a Bachelorette podcast. And I was so into it, like way more into it than other people were. And they were like, Jesus Christ. And then I got this job over here. And that's why that dream died.
So if there was a person from San Antonio / Corpus Christi / the Valley, could you do a watch along podcast?
What do you mean?
Well, like, I mean,
why do they need to be from those places?
Because those are places that are localized and those are places that people in your media area would care about. Like Susan from Iowa City, Iowa doesn't really move the needle, I don't think, in San Antonio. So when you go to like your bosses and go, we should do a watch along podcast, I don't think people care as much about Susan from Iowa City than they would care about like Susan from Helotes.
Well, yeah, but if you're doing a show, like you can't have it tethered to this person who's probably not going to win. Like the odds of doing that are like slim to none, pretty much. Like,
So you would need them to be the Bachelor or the Bachelorette.
yeah, that would help a lot.
That would help. I think that'd be the selling point.
It'd be like if we were doing GJ Kinne and around, like that was basically our impetus to make the damn thing.
In today's media climate and today's like sports fandom, a lot of people will like hook their wagon to like a player or a coach. I could not imagine doing that with a college football coach. I think that would be the worst idea in the world, to be like, I'm a big Sam Pittman fan, or like I'm a huge Steve Sarkisian fan, because the stock price on those coaches go up and down so quickly. Like Texas State got GJ Kinne for a solid amount of money. Like, I'm not going to say they went on the cheap by any means. They got him for a pretty good price.
A milli feels like kind of cheap now. That I'm like, as things continue to progress, I'm like, that was pretty good. Whoever locked that down, pretty good.
Yeah, Bidenomics, man. What does a $2 million contract really get you now?
Nothing.
Nothing. You got to rent a condo, dude. But like, imagine like Texas State goes 6-6 this year. You probably get them for another year. Like if Texas State goes 5-7, you're for sure getting for like another year, maybe another 2. Whereas like if this was a GJ Kinne podcast, we're already thinking about, hey, what is GJ going to look like in Washington State Cougar gear?
Just doing constant jersey swaps.
Yeah, what's GJ Kinne looking like as the head coach of, like, I'm trying to think, Nebraska in 2 years?
When we did that other show, Tacos and Touchdowns last week, they were our boy Aaron was talking to us about like what we thought about when Kinne was going to get hired. We both were pretty much like, oh, this dude's going to take the Tulsa job. Like that makes sense. He was at Tulsa. He's like a Hall of Fame player at Tulsa. And that job was open at the same time, which never happens in college football. Like it's like a lot of things kind of have to align, and a lot of things are kind of like out of people's control a lot of the time.
And now, I mean, like now you could almost argue that the Texas State job and the Tulsa job are kind of on the same level. Like it would kind of be like a lateral move.
I don't know. I guess it's like whatever football you want to play, right? Like if you like being in Texas, period, is kind of a bigger deal than being in like a lot of other places, period.
Ooh, I'm gonna get you on the record. Worst college in Texas, better than like the 3rd or 4th best college in Oklahoma.
Yes,
really. You take
I've never been to Oklahoma, but
you take the Sam Houston State job over Tulsa, huh?
It'd be fun.
Take UTEP over Tulsa, huh?
Be fun. Yeah.
That's insane. That's an awful take.
So anyway,
it's going to age
2 of
like
media
milk.
days. GJ Kinne gets up there after the head officiating dude continues to bore everybody to death.
So the statistics from 2023. The Sun Belt column on the right is based on 85 games that we officiated.
And GJ Kinne pretty much deadpans the camera, and for like what feels like an hour and a half, tells you every single thing that happened, like line by line. And I'm like, man, where are we going with this?
Kelly Danfus, start with him, our president, talking about the real reason we're here, these 2 guys up here, and that's what it's about, is these players. And I think last year, it was a year 1. Obviously, we probably exceeded some expectations on the outside world, but there was some inconsistencies in our game last year, and that's something that we've continued to try to build. And I think we addressed some of those in the portal and in the recruiting. But offensive coordinator Mac Leftwich had opportunities, just like our other, some of our players, to move on, and he decided to stay with us, which was a huge win. We lost our defensive coordinator, but hired someone that I'm very familiar with, Dexter McCoyle, our defensive coordinator. That's been with me now for going on year 3, but I also played with him in college, and we were teammates together. So someone I'm really familiar with, and someone that I know will do an outstanding job. Daniel, so I feel like we have a really good staff. I miss Barrick Neely on offense and Will Bryant, two other outstanding coaches. I think probably the deepest we've been at some positions. I think that was one thing figured out last year in the Sun Belt.
So skip ahead. When did he talk about JDL?
He never addressed that.
Oh, okay. So not everything. Some things got left.
Yeah,
some things got left.
Not everything about that.
Okay. Yeah. Whole offseason, and then they did redacted, and then they said, and then Jordan McCloud showed up. It was crazy.
Oh man, this guy's amazing right here.
Yeah. TJ Finley laughed, and then a week went by, and we got Jordan McCloud. She was wild.
Yeah. Nothing happened in between all that time.
No.
Yeah.
What was it? What would be the highlight of the offseason? Now the media day is come and gone. It seems like this is like when we do the retrospective. Jordan McCloud clearly the obvious answer for highlight of the offseason. Where does the Kinne's having a kid rank? Because Jordan McCloud coming here clearly number one.
Well,
like
number two, I think number two has to be Ish. I think staying because he had options. So I think our rankings gotta go three.
This child is getting pushed on the list.
Third kid, I think, goes 3. Yeah,
that's
pretty good though. You know, this top 3.
This is the graphic. This is the social clip. Yeah.
I like how I get done writing like a very professional, well articulated article, and then I get on here and gas bag. That's why I asked Craven to write the article though, because I was like, well, I think sometimes me writing gives us some legitimacy instead of just me talking shit on the internet for most of the damn season like I usually do. So, you know. I was so pissed because I actually wrote down a question for Media Day. It's right here. Boom.
And he fell asleep during it.
And I fell asleep, didn't answer the question. So now I'm going to take that little question and string together a couple thoughts and then make a real article out of it before the real season kicks off. I think that's what I'll do.
Or
turn a bad situation into a good situation for you.
Counterpoint, you have the email addresses of these coaches and media members. You could ask that question. You could email them.
I'm going to go in person, dude. I'm going to go watch some dudes work out.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, my favorite pastime. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, you didn't miss much. Jordan McCloud and Ish really didn't talk at all. Like they gave a few sentence answers. Not that GJ was like domineering over the conversation, but obviously everybody wants to hear about what his deal was, right? Like, how can you do this again, or what does this year look like, or how are you gonna do it? Blah, blah, blah. For me, like so much of last year was like, GJ Kinne, how are you gonna do this? GJ Kinne, you did this at UIW. How are you going to do this? Like, that was all last year's media day to me. And now it's like, holy shit, GJ Kinne, that was crazy.
Now, yeah, it's not last year. How are you going to do it? Now this year, how are you going to do it again? And then next year will be, like, how long are you going to do it? It's it's dumb.
So I was like, dang, that's why they needed my question, I guess. So I could actually ask something good. Yeah. But if you missed it, you didn't miss much. It didn't really get me super hyped up for the season, but it did get me hyped up because GJ Kinne talks about how they play the First Responders Bowl on December 6th or 26th, excuse me, the day after Christmas, right?
Boxing Day in Europe.
Mm-hmm. And so we're all having a good time in Dallas, having a good time. That night, right? They win the bowl game. Jonathan Patke gets announced as we're on our way to the bars.
Yeah.
That he's out.
He was leaving.
And he's going to take the job at Duke. Shout out Duke and Keith Gill. And then like the next morning at 7 a.m., he starts calling players, including Ish, all the like core guys like, yo, you guys got to stick around. We got to run it back. But so all that work started the next day.
Riddle me this, Jacob. So you win a bowl game, the first bowl game in school history. And you go out and you have a good time because you're a grown man. You're 21, 22, 23 years old.
You shut down the bar.
Your head coach calls you at 7 a.m. the next day. Tell me, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst, the level of fear that would go through your body, the chill you would get as you're waking up at 7 a.m., maybe a little hungover, maybe a little bit, had a couple adult beverages, and you see your phone light up Coach Kinne. I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, what happened last night? What did we do? Why is coach calling me? And it's him being like, hey, buddy, you want to stick around?
I don't know, man. If I'm Ish, I'm answering the phone like no problem. Like, really? What's up, man? Show me the money.
That's fair. And look, NIL money does talk a lot. You know, they did get him a couple of pretty good deals. Our guy Big Thad and his
they're rolling
NIL
out
group
more stuff too. Like
yeah,
it's like a continuing effort. And there's 2 NIL collectives, right? The bigger one is obviously the maroon and golden one, Victory Star. Well, I don't even know how big Victory Star is. Maybe it is a bigger one. I don't know. Who knows?
Nah, I don't think so.
You don't think so? So GJ Kinne hinted on this. Obviously, we're still in the off season. late summer vibes right now. Most people are already on campus working out, doing stuff. That's kind of his philosophy. There's a lot of people who are like, oh, wow, we got to start doing install work. GJ Kinne says he comes from the philosophy that right now is when you are in the weight room, brother.
Excited where we're at, but we still have a lot of room and a lot of growth to happen. I think one thing for us, in the summertime now, everyone's talking about OTAs, and practice and football and all that. I guess, I might be a young guy, but I'm a little old school when it comes to that. I think summertime is about strength and conditioning and running and lifting and getting bigger, stronger, faster, and continuing to build your culture, and you fit into football when you can and within the care hours. And that's what we did, and we'll get really going on the football next week. So
doing work every day. And then, in the summertime, or I guess when that's over, which is next week for them, that's when they start doing their full offensive install, which should be approximately 5-ish weeks from the start of kickoff in this new football season.
From what we've heard, it seems like it's a lot easier to install plays in 2024 than it is to install plays like in 2004. Again, high school offenses are getting a lot more sophisticated. A lot of these guys played at other colleges, so it's not like you're installing new plays. Like there's not like Mac Leftwich, really smart guy, GJ Kinne, really smart guy. It's not like they're inventing new ways to get receivers the ball. It's not like they're inventing new ways for offensive linemen to block. It really is just renaming plays that some of these guys already have learned. I think that makes life a lot easier. Like again, 2024, whole new football game for sure. So I think I used to be a little bit more concerned about that. Okay, wait, you're not going to install plays. You're not going to work on plays. But getting in the weight room, training, getting your body prepared, that might actually be the most important thing right now. Because Texas State historically, again, over the last 5-6 years, the injury bug in San Marcos has been awful. It seems like guys go down all the time. So, getting those guys
especially
in the weight room,
the basketball team, get those guys in the damn weight room.
Get those guys in shape. Get them in shape, brother.
Come on, I don't know. Man. Let's stop playing basketball the whole summer. Just go to CrossFit. You do something else.
Well, like the coaches are at CrossFit. Where are the players at?
That's true. I forgot about that.
The coaches are ripped. Coach look like they could be in the freaking
SIDs are ripped around here.
Who are they? What?
Chris Coots was jacked out of control.
That is the epitome. Chris Coots was the epitome of get jacked for a job you don't need to be big for. Rick Poulter moved around like Sasquatch. Chris Coots looked like he could take down a mountain lion, bro. Huh?
You're making me laugh too much.
He looked like he took down a mountain lion. That guy was cut out of marble, brother.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, and you talked about McCloud and
He needed to have gone to BYU or something. The amount of outdoor activities that guy could get into over there.
Oh, well, he's gonna be fine in Boise. I'm not worried about him at all.
Is there stuff to do over there?
There's stuff to do in Boise. There's plenty.
You picked up the Visit Boise travel guide.
Boise, Idaho, not a place that I would. Not a place that I would necessarily live. A place that I would 100% want to visit. Fun fact. There was a coach that was in North Dakota. I think it was Devil's Lake. Anyway, it's a town in North Dakota. Anyway, he was the track coach at Boise for Boise State. And he said that Boise turned into LA, that there were so many yuppies from California. I find that it's very hard to believe coming from East LA, Austin, Texas, the People's Republic of Austin. I don't necessarily think that Boise is as yuppie as Austin, Texas, but it seems like it may be like Denver Light, which I'd be kind of cool with.
Denver Light. Okay. I guess I get your vibe from that. The next, actually even tolerable thing that these guys talked about on the podium, because a lot of it is just kind of whatever.
Coaches speak.
Coach speak, player speak, is about their thoughts and opinions on college football 25, which is all I can effing talk about these days. So Jordan McCloud and Ismail Mahdi, pretty psyched to be playing stuff. GJ Kinne.
Have you played with them yet? Have you played with Jordan and Ish?
Yeah, and I can confirm that Jordan McCloud might be a mobile quarterback. I get enough break with him. Let me say, I'm not playing the game. I didn't have time to play the game. I am so locked in on everything else. Hopefully at some point I have time to play
football video games. Football video games.
Football
But the amount
americano.
of people on my phone, Jake, who have called me or texted me about NCAA 20 or college football 25, more than I thought. The conversation continues to come around Jordan McCloud, because I had a friend of mine who's doing a dynasty league similar to yours, where there's a bunch of guys pick teams. They all pick group of 5 schools. He picked Texas State because of yours truly. He knew that I went to Texas State. He wanted to support the Bobcats. He knew that they were a good team. He said that he picked Texas State before even looking at the roster, and he said this McCloud guy might win a Heisman. He was like, "This is
dude." He was on the Heisman watching week 3 for me. My first season.
In the video game, he was like, "This dude might be the best quarterback." And look,
he's
you want to play with,
he's amazing.
You want to play with Carson Beck or Milroe from Alabama. I get that. But if you're playing group of 5, dude, and from what I've seen, at least, Jordan McCloud looks like the best quarterback in the group of 5 on a video game.
Jalen Ray, or what was that guy out of the freshman from last year from Arkansas State? True freshman?
KJ Jefferson?
Was he?
You're talking about you're talking about the Arkansas Razorback. Or are you talking about the Arkansas quarterback?
Jalen Rayner.
Arkansas State.
Jalen Rayner.
Arkansas State's quarterback.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
The Red Wolves. Yeah. Jalen Rayner.
Yes.
True freshman last year. Started ahead of Malik Hornsby in the game. So.
Yeah.
He was sick with it. I mean, he diced us up, so we can't even talk shit.
Dude.
Here are my quick thoughts and observations from a Texas State fan's perspective. If this is how our offensive and defensive line play, we are in a fucking world of trouble. Because even if Jordan McCloud can win a damn Heisman, I don't have any damn time to throw the ball. That's why he's a mobile quarterback in my game.
So you think that the offensive line, they nerfed our offensive line?
Oh, our offensive line doesn't exist. They're like all non-scholarship players, pretty much.
So how is Ish Mahdi getting these big breaks that I've seen on the Twitch streams?
Ridiculous. That's for real. My favorite play, though, is the jet sweep with Joey Hobart comes around. They run that all the fucking time. And I run it too, and it works. If it ships, it fits for a low flat rate, baby.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah. Offensive line, defensive line. Secondary is pretty much a liability. Linebacking core. Great linebacker school.
I do admire, and I hope that you do this every week, that when we go into a game, that you are telling me, hey, this is going to be a tough game this week. Why, Jake? We're playing, I don't know, South Alabama.
And they're 1-3 defense on them.
And it's like, hey, I played them in the NCAA and they kicked my ass, brother. Like, I don't know what to say. I hope
that's what I should do before I record every week is play against this team on Heisman mode.
Yeah.
And then give my thoughts.
And I'll tell you, if you're smart, you record it, you clip it, you put it in the pod, and you go like, hey, here's a supercut, 5-minute supercut of Jakey playing video games. Maybe we keep that for the YouTube audience only.
Yeah, I'm sorry I haven't started streaming yet, but I'm under the weather. And last week I was giving my full time and attention to my friends.
I don't think that's the right thing.
I am under the weather right now. I can't.
I don't think you're under the weather.
Podcast as it is. This is a Jordan-esque performance.
You can barely podcast.
Listen,
podcasters are the blue collar worker of the media industry.
You saw me. I had cold medicine and fucking a Bloody Mary for brunch on Sunday.
Which, let me tell you, again, if we want to get into this, those Bloody Marys were the most expensive, least
$9
to me.
By the way, we're talking about Blue Dahlia. I'll air out the square.
To me, dude, if I'm getting a Bloody Mary, I want lettuce in that bitch. I want I want the whole thing, and y'all didn't get nothing.
I tasted no vodka in there, by the way.
Yeah,
it was not strong at all. It was as watered down as a michelada, but it was also because our friends all weekend only wanted to eat outside. As I'm dying, by the way, from allergies.
Well, that was tough. I don't mind. I was drinking water. I was looking good, so I was okay.
Look good, feel good.
Yeah. I'm actually sober, and then the entire table. Oh, this fucking guy! Like, alcoholism is a joke. It's crazy. It was wild how
they were giving you more shit about you being sober than me on the verge.
Yeah, Jacob's on the verge of like dying, and they're giving me shit because I don't drink. It's like, what do we do? And then I brought this actually up to my like friends at work, and they go like, "Don't let your friends change you. Don't be peer pressured into drinking." And I'm thinking to myself, like, are my friends a bad influence? I think they might be. Tough times. And then somebody was like, "Hey, why are you friends with Jacob? He's an alcoholic." I'm like, actually, I don't think he's an alcoholic. I think he's alcohol dependent. I don't think he's an alcoholic.
I don't even think
This
I'm
whole
dependent.
thing.
I'm more dependent right now on cold medicine. This is my favorite cold medicine right here.
That's
Alka-Seltzer
wild.
Plus, baby.
I've never had Alka-Seltzer. I'm not a big Alka-Seltzer guy.
Dude, I feel like Don Draper anytime I take them. So
Pop,
far.
pop, fizz, fizz.
Pop, pop, fizz, fizz.
Mad Men, where does it rank for you?
Mad Men's like under The Sopranos. It's probably The Sopranos.
Give me the pyramid.
Mad Men? Nah, it can't be Mad Men that high. It was good though.
Breaking Bad?
I never saw Breaking Bad.
That's going to be the podcast, folks.
I have anything else to talk about? Hang on.
I did not see Breaking Bad.
Oh, CFB note. Cole Wilson is great if you can get him the ball. Like, it's crazy. They have him stacked on the outside, and then it's always like a 6'3" corner covering him.
All right. I didn't get this email that you screenshotted and posted.
Oh, perfect. This is how we can end the show, baby.
Jacob tweets, should I bully at Andrew Zimmel into walking the stage because he never did? Famously graduated in 2020, didn't walk the stage. Some of my friends did. I did jump in the river. It was a good time. As a member of the Texas State University class of 2020, that would be us, your commencement ceremony may have been virtual, postponed, or perhaps you didn't attend your ceremony due to concerns surrounding COVID-19, the pandemic, which I did. Texas State commencement would like to know your interest in returning to participate in the fall 2024 commencement. No way.
That would be
Wednesday,
so
August
funny
7th.
if all of our friends just ran it back.
Wednesday, August 7th is my birthday, so I do like that it has to be done.
December 13th is the day after
the
mine.
fall. Yeah, it's too perfect. Please let us know. You know, I might do it. That actually is not a bad idea.
Could be fun.
I don't mind that. That actually, I think that would be fun, especially because we could really legitimately do all of our friends at once. Like we could all just go at one time. I might be down. And also the fun fact, here's a really fun one for you. Jesse did commencement. My middle brother did commencement at UTSA, Alamo Dome. Happy for him. Kind of sucked in the Alamo Dome. Ryan graduates in 2025 in the spring at Texas A&M. So I could literally do this commencement in December of this year and then in the spring go to his. Could be the move.
So I could literally follow the timeline of life. What the fuck are you talking about? I could literally,
you know what?
Just keep following the Gregorian calendar. What the fuck? Sometimes I feel like you think you're like the smartest person in the world. I'm like, this guy just invented calendars on the spot.
I don't
like what
he invented a way to count time. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I'm a big deal.
That's what the monks did too. You know.
Why didn't you have a bed? Build the legend. This guy. This guy. I thought there'd be more people with my book at this group gathering too. I was like,
they were like, does anybody they asked in general, actually. They were like, did anybody buy Andrew's book? And I was like,
that's wild.
It's the only one. Lone soldier out there.
Doesn't shock me at all. But I do remember that being brought up at that dinner we had, and I saw more than one hand. So you're telling me a couple people lied?
They probably, well, yeah, obviously. Come on. I got to tell you that.
That's pretty good. Look, I'm not saying, I'm just saying you put a book out and your friends don't care and your family cares a little bit, but you know who cares the most? Employers. You wrote a book on a resume, and I'll tell you, you do get some people who are like, interesting.
Until they find out how easy it is to write a book. And they're like, oh yeah.
Listen, hey, motherfucker, you write a 400-page book, all right?
I write a 100-page book. I bet at the end of this season,
there's 300 pages in this.
I will have enough of my newsletter articles written that I could fill a book with 100 pages.
I don't buy that for a fucking second.
Because all of these are like 400 to 500 words. That's already like a page and a half.
You send me it and I'll publish it. How about that?
Okay.
You send me it and I will format it and I'll publish it for you.
All right. To our newsletter subscribers, I sent a special fresh off the press newsletter after I wrote this thing. I'll do that anytime me and Zimmel will write something. It'll get straight to your doorstep.
I wrote a book and my friends don't care. I wouldn't put that in like I wrote a book My friends don't give a shit. It's crazy.
I care. Hang on. I gotta find this thing. So this isn't 100 pages. This is like 200.
It's 300. It's 293.
293. I was like, how do you know that? You wrote it. But look at the spacing on this, everybody. I'm just saying.
It's
there's
so
a lot
you
of
can
margin.
take notes. It's so you can take notes to write in it.
Okay. Maybe I'll include that on my book. Basically, where the audience can take notes. I'm just saying.
This is I cannot believe this is my life. I cannot believe this is my life.
So if this is a space to include notes, you didn't want to put like a line across the whole.
No. Because I didn't like when we had textbooks in college. I didn't like that there was a line because I felt it took up space.
In all honesty, I was
margins.
very impressed when you dedicated yourself to doing this shit. I'm just saying, even the print on the back of this is outrageous. Look at how big that fucking thing is. That's like 2 sentences for a normal person. It's 3 paragraphs for Andrew.
All right. I'll tell you this. When you write a book,
I wrote a children's book. It was published before you.
When you write a book,
it was my thesis for fucking school.
When you write a book, you can come talk to me.
I did write a book.
But until then, you wrote a fucking children's book. That's not the same thing.
That's a children's book, Andrew. Come on.
Oh my fucking God.
That's like baby's first chapter book.
I need a cigarette. I'm going to go out and start smoking. This is insane. Look, you can say a lot of things about me. You can say a lot of things about me. You can't say shit about the book.
I can't. You're right.
I can. I
you
hate
got
it.
That.
I hate it. I would go back and I would do it different for sure.
You do a
for
reading?
Sure. Look, when you write a book and in the beginning of it, you talk to your mentor, your friend, the guy you looked up to, and then you publish the book the same week he quits radio.
Yeah.
You know, not great.
All right. Thanks for squaring around, everybody. That was a media day. Next week, what the fuck are we doing next week? Oh, it's
Charles
the 31st.
Austin.
It's the 31st, right? Next week?
Yeah. Yep.
We got Coach Z on.
All right.
We're talking to Coach Z all about her recruiting class and stuff like that. This is an idea I've pitched to the damn athletics department for literally forever. And we're finally going to get to talk to Coach Z. Hopefully, if it goes well, we can do some version of all the coaches like this in some capacity immediately following their season, wherever it may fall. But probably like right before like they actually start picking things up for summer workouts and stuff like that.
There we go. I'm excited. Coach Z is one of my favorites.
Me too. Every time we talk to her, I feel like running through a brick wall through her. So
for her, running through a brick wall for her.
I said that, no? Oh, sorry. Blame it on the Alka-Seltzer. Thanks for squaring.
We don't need no badges. I don't have to show you any stinking badges.
Better not come any closer.
Thanks for listening. New episodes out every Thursday. Follow the boys on Twitter. Eat 'em up. Eat 'em up.